Hey there, sunshine, and thank you so much for tuning in to Morning Buzz. I'm the membership director here at the One Club for Creativity and your host with almost the most, Adam Eisen. Each episode of Morning Buzz, we celebrate the talent and stories of our member community. And let me tell you, folks, I have two incredible people to introduce to you today. First, I'll have an in-depth conversation with an industry veteran who'll share her story of transitioning in the workplace. And then we'll meet a very talented and super charming illustrator. I'm telling you, you won't want to miss a single second of this episode. So don't navigate away. Just don't do it. But before I bring on our first guest, as always, be sure to find that chat box. I put the code in myself so that we can chat. So go ahead and use it. Say hello, tell us where you're from. Use a few flamenco dancer emojis, and of course, drop your questions because we'll definitely get to a few. With that out of the way, it is my absolute pleasure to welcome to the show, Jessika Janene. Jessika is the creator of many ad campaigns, regional, national, and beyond. Professionally, she is an art director and is vice president, creative director at Chemistry. Personally, she's an artist, storyteller, motorcycle builder, and creator of other contraptions in her spare time. She has a partner of 24 years, 2 cats, and plenty of ruined furniture to prove it. Jessika lives and works in Pittsburgh. Hello, Jessika. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you so much for having me, Adam. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to be welcomed by this community.
Absolutely. This is such an honor, and I'm so excited for this conversation. You have such a beautiful and inspiring story that I can't wait to dive into. But I'd first like to start out by recognizing Jessika Janene, the creative. You have a fantastic career. What have been some of the highlights for you?
Well, I started working in, 1989, 1990-ish. And I worked at a small place and sort of cut my teeth. And that was back when we were still working. I was an art director and we were still working mechanicals on boards. So there weren't computers around to do layouts and produce things. We were shooting on film as well. Everything was shot on film, of course. And one of the highlights was I had moved to Pittsburgh. That's where I am now, back in about 94, 95. And I started my first television production ever. I was thrown into this account that the agency I was working at, it was Ketchum Advertising. I was thrown into this shoot. I was a young person. I'd never been on a TV shoot. I've done plenty of photo shoots. I went on this TV shoot and it was for a drug company that we had, not like a retailer. They were very similar to Rite Aid. It was called Thrift Drug. And I was asked to supervise the shoot and to be involved, and I fell in love with it. We were shooting stuff like basically like circulars, but they were on TV. It was like item price, like 5 notebooks for $1 or whatever it was. But it was, just the magic of making stuff that was not attractive look great. And I fell in love with the process, and I fell in love with, I would say I really fell in love with advertising then. Through my career, I've had some really great opportunities provided by different agencies, provided by obviously hard work as well. I mean, one of them was winning a particularly interesting piece of business. It was Imation. It was a spinoff from 3M years ago, back when we stored stuff on disks and different devices. They were like the data storage entity of 3M, and it was an international company. So I did ads as a young person still then. I did ads around the whole world, and it was daunting. It was challenging. It was fast paced, and it was also just, it was great. I mean, full page New York Times ads, full page ads in every publication in like 50 languages. I can't remember. It was an insane amount of work. Also, one of my favorite accounts to work on was the New York Philharmonic. Our agency, Chemistry, had them for just about 10 years, and equally challenging. I learned a lot about classical music. I thought I knew something, and then I, got into the weeds with working on the fill for that long. It was high profile, fast paced as well. When you're in season, you're always doing something.
Churning it out.
You start catalogs, almost a year before the new season starts. Well, 4 months before the new season starts. But it was challenging and super fulfilling. And now I have a love for TV production. I love doing commercial work. I love sort of that process. And what I love about it is that it is the most collaborative thing that you do, I think, personally, in the advertising business, where you're integrating a lot of people. It's my idea, maybe, but it takes this myriad people to bring it to fruition. And I love the interplay. I also love asking people to bring something to the table. Here's an idea. We started A and we ended Z, and in the process, other people contribute, and we teach folks, younger folks, but also I learn every time, and I learn from all myriad of folk out there. And it's the business is so interesting, period, because it's really never boring. I know stuff from healthcare to classical music, from I don't know, industrial whatever solvents to household products. I don't know. It's I know a little bit about a whole bunch of stuff through a 30-year career. So
yeah, and just the evolution of keeping up with the new formats and technologies and
yes,
ways of communicating. Just so much to always have to explore and learn.
Yes, and it changes daily, and the advent of the internet. And I remember doing, I did our agencies back then. The first client that this was still at Ketchum. The first client that did a website was American Iron and Steel. I mean, we were at Pittsburgh, and so back then it was U.S. Steel, American Iron and Steel Institute, and we did this really mundane website that everybody was just like, oh my God, I can't believe this exists. And it was groundbreaking for the time. I look at it now and it was super rudimentary, but no one had seen these before. So it's interesting to be, in the, no one had done ads on computers. And when I was hired, I had some experience in it. I had some computer experience and learned it on the job. And, it's, here we are in this world now where things move at the speed of light, literally.
Absolutely. And so now you have a very interesting personal story as well, given that you recently transitioned to a woman at the height of the pandemic. When did you realize you were trans, and what were those early days like for you?
Well, I first realized when I was 53. And that was, I'm 55 now. So it was a few years ago. A woman never tells her age except for, on a podcast with you.
I wasn't going to reveal it, but now that you have.
It's okay. It's okay. So, I realized in the midst of the pandemic, but I would say early on, I would guess I was home alone for 2 months. My wife had gone to Florida to take care of her mom and sort of got stuck down in Florida. And this was in November of 2020. And God, those dates are just so hard to formulate in my brain. Yeah. But it was 8 months into the pandemic, and I had been working from home. We were sort of in lockdown here, of course. And I had been working from home. My wife was away. And, it's depression isn't a dirty word. It's something that we all should talk about, mental health. And I was having a particularly challenging time. I had suffered from depression sort of my whole life without really being treated correctly.
Right.
I saw a doctor. I got on some depression meds that helped, but amidst that, like I like to say, the hamster wheel of the pandemic, where I was, eat, sleep, work, eat, sleep, eat, work in my house with my cats and my, loneliness and all the other stuff. I mean, I was busy work-wise, but, And as they say in transgender circles, my egg cracked.
Yeah.
And it was a combination of that cabin fever, depression, and probably a lifelong suppression of this. I
Right.
never knew until I was 53. And
Wow.
once your egg cracks, once you crack an egg,
Yeah, you can't put
it's
it
not
together.
like you're going to put it back together
Yeah.
and it returns. I mean, you could try, it's not going to work out well.
Yeah.
And so I started my social transition basically in November of 2020.
Wow.
And I did that at home. I did travel. I went to Florida to talk to my wife over Christmas, and my Christmas present to her that year was telling her that, like, I was questioning my gender.
Yeah.
And she encouraged me to find out what that was and what it was all about.
That's awesome.
And that was my path.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so then, given that we actually kind of jumped over this a little bit, but you've been at chemistry for some time, for I think 16 years or so.
Yeah, 2006.
Okay. Yeah. So somewhere in there. And you
We
have
don't do math.
Yeah, me neither. You have team members above you and below you, and you have strong partnerships that you formed outside of the company itself. How did you handle coming out at work?
Yeah, it's a multi-pronged. I'll try and make it brief as I can. So I was on Zoom calls a lot, obviously, and would either have camera off or I'd present in boy mode for the Zoom call. And that was mentally challenging for me because I didn't want to go back. Once I crossed the river, I didn't want to swim back. And I decided that I needed to transition or reveal myself in the workplace, I should say, because I was moving into some television production for a client. And I didn't want to show up on set as my old self with my, my dead name and present as male. I couldn't do it. I mean, I couldn't bring myself to it. And
because at this point, it's about how long since November of 20?
I was in the spring, so it was March.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was March. And so I did some research. I researched how to come out in the workplace. And I found a lot of stuff on how to come out as, everything except transgender.
Yeah.
It was odd. I did find some stuff on, the HRC's website, and it seemed a little rudimentary and not so. I don't know, but I through all of it, I found information, funny enough, that wasn't too academic on Cornell's website. And Cornell had a coming out in the workplace, and it was basically a guide for those that worked at Cornell to come out in their workplace.
Sure.
But it had this. It sort of had a tip list, and within the tip list, it was sort of Socratically asking you questions about like yourself. And I read it, and it was just so helpful. And within the tip list and the questions, there was also like, here's what you do, A, B, C. One of the things was you find an advocate at work, and I had an advocate at work, a fellow by the name of Dempsey, who was also in the LGBTQ plus IA umbrella.
Yeah.
And so I found this advocate, and I came out to him first in the workplace, a friend and a colleague. And it was told that next you should go to HR with your said advocate. Yeah. So that's what I did. I went to HR with my advocate, and our HR director then at the time, a lovely woman, Jennifer, she said, guess what? I also have a brother who's just starting to transition. And I was like, wow. And she's like, I see you and I got you. And so I had Dempsey, Jennifer, and myself. And it was suggested then you go to your supervisor or leadership. And I did. I went to my boss, Jeff, and he's the chief creative officer. And I said, hey, here's what's going on. I had HR with me. Not that I didn't trust my boss, but it's just a procedure that you should do.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, yes, it's the
Yeah.
best thing to do. And now the HRC, there are great instructions there as well, but this was sort of the way I did it. And my boss was really welcoming, unbelievably welcoming, and said, what can we do? What can I do? What can the company do? And one of the things about talking to my advocate in the beginning, Dempsey, is he is on, I don't know, the founding committee, the board. I'm not sure how they all define themselves, of Alchemy. And Alchemy is a group within chemistry, which is our DE&I initiative, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And they were formed, I think beginning of the pandemic, all sort of post George Floyd episode and the whole, unrest that went on in our country. Corporations started really paying attention to, employee life.
Right.
Really broad stroke there, employee life, but started paying attention to how we treat each other, how we talk about each other, the workplace. I'm not a DEI expert, nor am I an Alchemy expert. Alchemy is our DEI initiative at chemistry. We brand everything, including our internal communications. And so when I went to my boss, Jeff, with this news and taking Dempsey and HR along, I didn't want to just come out and do a blanket, email to the company saying, guess what? I am now Jessika Janene. I identify as female. I needed to do something that put me in the back seat. So what I did was I asked our folks to craft a message, and it was decided, and I think this was really important, that it came from Jeff, our chief creative officer. I think he was then president, and as well. And so we all crafted a letter together, and the letter went out to the company. Now I came out to my core team, my writing partner and friend. I came out to him. I came out to the accounts that I work on, all the account heads, and the people I supervised, the people that supervised me. I did all of those basically in person, but the company as a whole, there are people that I don't know. There are people that have never worked with me. I wanted everybody to know, because it's awkward if you come into a room and there's a person sitting there whom you've known in one aspect. Sure. And, so I wanted to do this, and I wanted to make it educational and to make it not about me. Yeah. Because transition's a lot about the person transitioning, and it's sometimes overbearing. I'd like to try to live a life that's less about, what I get and more about what I give. But, that's an ideal. So Jeff wrote this letter with the help of the DI committee and myself as well. And it would be really cool if I could read it really quickly.
Yeah, would love for you to.
I think it's really something amazing. So forgive me, I'm going to dead name. I'm not going to dead name myself. I'll just say dead name, where my old name was. DEI, 3 simple letters that are so hugely important. As you know, chemistry created Alchemy last year to provide a safe space for all types of conversations about diversity, equity, and inclusion. The hope is that we not only talk, but that we listen and learn. In addition, I personally see Alchemy as a manifestation of a company that celebrates the individuality of every employee, a company that fosters a culture of support for all chemists, what we call ourselves, and the amazing backgrounds and experiences they bring to their work. In that spirit, I'd like to share the news that Dead Name has embarked upon a remarkable personal journey during which he has transitioned to Jessika Janene. As part of the trans community, Jessika brings incredible perspective to chemistry, and we applaud her for taking this courageous step to embrace her full self. Jessika is one of the best art directors I know. She knows more about broadcast production than anyone I've ever worked with, and she brings an eye to design and photography that is unrivaled. I hope you'll join me in supporting her in every way possible. If you want to know more about how to be supportive, please reach out to Alchemy via email, or you can direct message any member through Slack. Additionally, the council has curated some excellent resources that will help all be supportive allies. I encourage you to read through them, and again, reach out to Alchemy with any questions.
That's awesome.
I mean, this is something that, like, I don't know, it is an example of, I think, how to do it.
Yeah.
Outside of Jeff speaking flowery about me, I don't cringe in any of this. It is a really powerful way, and the Alchemy group got together and provided resources for folks to look at, for fellow employees to look at, for anybody to look at. And that's, you know, I'm blessed. I couldn't ask for anything better coming out at work.
Yeah, it's not just acceptance and making it okay to be trans at work, but like fully standing behind it, advocating and making space for it I mean, it's really beautiful. I got chills listening to it. It's powerful.
Yes. And that message was shared, you know, at our Pittsburgh office, at our Atlanta office. I think it went to Miami too. Back then we didn't have a New York office, but we do now. And so it was well received by everybody. I, you know, got messages of encouragement back. It was really sweet. I'm blessed and fortunate. I know people that transition at work and, you know, are asked to leave.
Yeah.
Not in our business that I know of, but in other businesses.
Sure. And chemistry has supported you in an amazing way, and it sounds like for the most part it's been pretty smooth and welcoming. Any type of transition like this is going to come up against some roadblocks and some bumps in the road. But can you talk about moments that since that time that you have felt really supported, or when do you feel most supported at work as you're going through this?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things was that production I talked about, where I came out at work because I was moving into television production with a particularly large client that we have. And my creative leads and also account service leads told the client, hey, Jessica's going to be on set and she's presenting in this way. She's transitioned. They did the outreach there. I did the outreach to all of my people, my director, my producers, my production company. And the day I went in for, you know, I don't know, scouting locations, and showed up, and, you know, we all jump in the van and we do a big long day of scouting wherever we're going, or where in this particular, we were scouting, you know, houses and offices and whatnot. And everybody, the people that I didn't contact directly, everybody on set, everybody whom were used to seeing me for a decade or more, it was like I was the same person, but now I was this woman, and it was overwhelming. You know, at one point I stopped the production company, and we were having lunch, and I said, thank you guys. Thank you for doing this, like making this as comfortable as possible, because it's awkward for people.
Sure.
No, it's not awkward for me. This is my choice. Well, it's not really a choice, but it was my choice to transition and stay in this business and be with this company. And it's amazing when people treat you as you are, as you present, and don't need to, you know, check your ID or your papers. So I think in an environment where, you know, we are liberal, and, you know, we are, you know, liberal in how we treat one another, and forward thinking, this can happen. And, you know, that was particularly amazing. Of course, my my close people at work who are on my teams, they've all been 100% supportive. My writing partner of 17 years, thought I was joking with him at first. And, he has been amazingly supportive. Just the community in general has welcomed me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say it again, I've just been really super fortunate.
Yeah.
There's, the general public, any trans person can tell you horror stories about what goes on out there. And it's, we've come a long way, but there's more road to travel. So, but professionally, it's been amazing.
Yeah. One thing you said when we were chatting earlier that I think was really good to hear was also that you feel supported when you're just asked to be in a room and to partake in things just as you, the person, like being trans female aside, just like when people are coming to you, including you as Jessika, that's the simplicity of that is powerful.
Yeah. Seeing me is my role that I'm playing in a professional situation. Seeing me as a creative director, seeing me as a boss, seeing me as a collaborator or as an employee. Just that, without all the stuff that comes with how we interact, is it astounded me when I was first coming out, because it was frightening. I mean, I had problems leaving my front door of my house. I've lived in this house for 25 years. I had to be coached to walk out of the door and walk down the street during the pandemic to a bakery that was open. Yeah. And my wife coached me on the phone from Florida, it's okay, just walk out. Yeah. Nobody's looking. But I was looking. I was looking at me, and I was so completely concerned about it. And it's not a big deal now. It's no deal now. It's who I am. But back then it really was. And in a professional situation where you've been in a business for 30 years, and now all of a sudden you're a different gender, you present differently, you look differently. It's a head trip.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Somewhat on that, as someone who lived for, well, since we've named it 50 years as a heterosexual white male, holy grail of privilege in the good old US of A, for 50 years, has there been any shift in perspective when it comes to your work, either in the creative process itself or even just as a manager or even a colleague?
Boy, I wish I was a little more well-behaved, as female. Lack of testosterone really helps. I'm a little less quick on the trigger, but I still, struggle at some things. I'm emotional. But for the most part, nothing's changed. I would say that I have a better focus. And it could be a hormonal balance thing going on. I mean, I was 53, so my testosterone was starting to tank, but it was pretty significant number. Now I'm, adjusted heavily. But what I would say that really what it's always an interesting question when I think about well, what's changed? I think that there are moments when I realize the liberty I had as white cis male. I don't like to think that it was a crutch or that that it was a privilege, but it was. Because society has built that. Personally, I don't think that way. I tried to never think that way. I tried to never be, a boys club member. I'm trying to delicately walk around this subject, but I had a few people actually ask me early on in transition, are you sure about this? Are you sure you want to do this? Because I've had people say to me, you are the most guy I've ever known. Like, you're transitioning to a female? And I'm like, yeah, I am.
Yeah.
When, the Motorhead part and that whole thing, like, all true. I am that person. That's how I grew up. But,
Yeah.
I would question people when they would ask me that. I would say, do you think I really want to move to the most marginalized community in our society,
Yeah.
in the American society, from the most privileged to the most marginalized? If I were Black, trans woman, I would be the most marginalized.
Sure.
Trans women are the second most marginalized,
Yeah.
population that there is. It's not a choice that you make lightly. It's not like I didn't make it lightly.
Right.
It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't a choice.
Yeah.
I had to be here. And, I think that is, I don't know. That's my perspective shift is, this is sort of running off of work, but the first time you're presenting female, I live my life now as female, and you're walking down a street in the middle of the night. I've been in New York, and you're alone. It's a whole different world than when you're walking down the street alone as a white male.
Yeah.
You feel exposed. You feel vulnerable. And that perspective, I've always sort of understood it, academically,
Right.
but to live it,
Yeah.
to have that change is, it shifted all my perspectives in the business, in the creative business, how I do my creative work. Not really.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm kinder, softer, gentler, more meaningful. I would wish for that.
Yeah. That's great. Since you started to venture off work a little, and this will tie in well. We're living in a moment where there's a lot of political attacks on transgender rights.
Yeah.
What can allies do to show support?
The easy answer is vote, of course. Vote for the right people. Educate yourself. It's not hard. Everyone always says, like, educate yourself, do some research. Sorry, I was looking at a note. It's pretty simple. Be informed. I like to say, speak up. If you see something, you hear something, say something, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
In this world, it's a big ask for people. Like, if you see somebody being harmed or being marginalized or being abused, who's trans, who's anybody, I would say, do something, say something, throw a lifeline to that person. Become educated. I read this article yesterday. If you allow me, I'm just going to read this really quickly. I knew this question was coming up, and but I read this article. It's actually from the Los Angeles Blade, and it's just one little short paragraph, and this sort of explains some stuff. According to a Pew poll, 68% of Americans believe they have never personally met someone who is transgender. That means the majority of the public's education and awareness about this community has been informed by more than a century's worth of media, which has overwhelmingly misrepresented and mischaracterized who trans people are, significantly influencing public perceptions, policy, and attitudes about the trans community. I'll say, like, if these lawmakers that are making laws that are stopping children from being children, however they identify, we all know that children are capable of making decisions about who they are.
Mm.
If these lawmakers had their own children transition or question their identities, I think that they would be thinking a lot differently.
Yeah.
If they had a relative who was transitioning, whatever way, a relative who was coming out as gay, a relative who was coming out as bi, whatever it is, they would think differently.
Yes. Yeah.
So this sort of like, speak up, say something, yes, but also, become informed. It's really simple. There's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of controversy out there too. The whole thought about, trans sports, and
Mm.
I don't want to delve into that controversy, but like, let's use our heads and make some decisions. I think that we can do it as a society.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, when you're saying educate yourself, that 100% just like broaden your horizons and meet people
Yeah.
who are different from you. And that goes a long, long way.
Yeah.
We do have a couple audience questions, and I want to make sure we squeeze a couple of them
Okay.
in. Oh, I've got this one here from Samantha, who says, what would you say to an employee that might be nervous that coworkers with different beliefs might feel or be negative?
I would say, offer that person or those people what you also want is, listen to them, listen to what they feel, encourage them to, open up,
Yeah.
ask them to engage or to educate themselves. But I think just meeting them with, treating them how you would want to be treated,
Mhm.
offer that opportunity for them to see it in action.
Mhm.
I don't know if that answered it. I think it did.
Yeah, I think so. All right, I'm reading and digesting this one at the same time to make sure I read it properly. The pandemic has changed so many things about the workplace. Rules that existed before have been reevaluated. Do you think that transitioning during this time made things different than had you transitioned during the pre-pandemic before times?
Yeah, it's a great question. 100%. There's this like phenomena that went on during the pandemic of people doing things like this, of becoming their authentic selves, of quitting jobs and being, saying, I'm not going to work in this industry anymore. I'm going to do X, Y, or Z. I'm not going to, stay with this partner. I'm going to, leave. There are myriad people who came out as trans, whom we had this time. My therapist said to me, I got a therapist who I work with very closely. He said to me, well, if you're going to do this, this is the time, because you
Mhm.
could be at home. You could
Mhm.
practice presenting it first.
Mhm.
You are protected. I didn't have to go into the office. I didn't have to be Jessica the next day. I could
Right.
find myself. It was this perfect storm, this culmination of events that cracked a lot of eggs,
Yeah.
that brought a lot of people out of their proverbial closets.
Mhm.
It was a curse to, us in a lot of ways, us society, but also I think it was like sort of a great self-introspective time, and I needed it, and it was a blessing. And I work for a company that's amazing, that was super lenient and also amazingly understanding, and made that transition from at home alone to being with others seamless and
Yeah.
supportive.
Yeah. On that, so you had a good deal of confidence that chemistry would be supportive, but the moment was still met with hesitation and nerves, as it would be.
Yeah.
What do you have any points of advice for any type of company to open that door a little bit better, so that people don't necessarily feel like they're walking through it for the first time for that company?
Yeah, I mean, what we did, was, DEI training. I think that was really important. And I was still presenting male when I went through our first round some time ago, and it didn't hit the way it did, but I learned from it.
Mhm.
I had the words in my head. I had the awareness in my head. I mean, honestly, I didn't think that pronouns mattered back then,
Mm.
but I knew that they existed. I knew that there were people that should be addressed in a certain way and not in, a flippant way that a lot of us do, because
Yeah.
we don't think about it. We've been socialized to be a certain way. And
Mm.
now social norms have changed, and it's, a lot of people don't want to change with it. I
Right.
get it. It's hard calling a person they. It's confusing. It doesn't make sense. I'm a she, her. I'm a binary person, but um, it doesn't mean that we can't be accepting of everybody else. I think that what my company did was stellar. We had a organization, Alchemy, that supported people like me, that supported people in all walks of life, not just like me, but supports all employees and gives them a voice. And I think that's really important. One of the pieces of advice I'd like to give, moving forward is, this like fear that I have in the public in general, not in my company, but in the public in general, of, tokenism,
Mm.
where we take a certain person, a certain minority group. I'll just say what I am. I'm a minority group now. We take a minority group and we, put them out there to,
Mm.
you know, to show that we're listening, to show that we care, and to prevent people from criticizing us. Like, look, we have,
Mm.
all flavors of the rainbow here.
Mhm.
Look at us. Like, I feel that I find that in broad, the commercial world.
Mhm.
It's always like, oh man, look at this. Like, this is like the United Colors of Benetton ad. Like, they don't have to do it on every single frame.
Yeah.
It just drives me crazy. And likewise, personally, I don't want to be dragged out as like, here's our resident trans person,
Yeah.
Jessika Janene. And nobody at chemistry would do that. But
Yeah.
I know that there are organizations out there that have a checklist.
Yeah.
Who do we have? What are we
Mhm.
representing? Treat us
Mhm.
as people,
Yeah.
that's who
Yeah.
we are first and foremost.
Yeah. Just hire diversely, empower diverse people of all
Yeah.
ethnicities, of all backgrounds, and
Give
just do that work.
everybody,
Do that
yeah,
work.
yeah.
Mhm.
Give everybody an equal shot, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, Jessica, thank you so much. We're at our time, but it has been
Mm.
such a pleasure to meet you and to hear your story and get to know you. I know that you're just, out there trying to live your truth, but I also want to say that the reality is that you're making space for so many others to be their authentic selves. And I just want to
Yes.
recognize and thank you for that. And thank you for
Thank you
being here.
so much. That's why I agreed to do this, is that, it's our business. It's our job is to help others, I think, in the human realm. And
Absolutely.
I hope that was a little bit of what I accomplished today. So thank you,
Absolutely.
Adam,
Yes.
for
Thank
the
you, Jessica.
platform.
I hope to see you again soon. Have a great day.
You
And
too.
thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye. What an awesome person, right? Well, lucky for you, our community is filled with amazing people, and I am thrilled to introduce to you our next guest, María Jesús Contreras. María is an illustrator and designer based in Chile, but currently joining us from her artist residency in Japan. She studied graphic design at the Pontificia Universidad Católica de Chile. I wasn't going to mess it up, but I think I did a little bit. Where she also received an academic certificate in the arts. She works as a freelancer with clients all over the world, including the New York Times, The Atlantic, Punch Drunk, The New Yorker, and Bandcamp. I'm also so excited to announce that just yesterday, Maria was named as one of this year's class of Young Guns 20. Hello, Maria. Thank you so much for being here and congratulations on being named a Young Gun.
Hi, Adam. I'm so excited. I can't still believe it, actually.
I
So,
mean, you are incredibly talented, as everybody just saw some of your work coming through. So it is well deserved. I'm so
thank you
excited
very
for you.
much. I appreciate it a lot.
Of course. You've had a passion for art since your childhood and even started in advertising at quite a young age, right?
Yeah, you could say so. Like, I was raised in a very little city in south of Chile that is very rainy, and we don't have any galleries or anything related to art, really. And also my family are like, my father is a farmer. My mother also work related with the farm and everything. So I never had any reference. So my only first approach to art was these signs on supermarkets and every Latin American like kind of sign that you have in your mind, like very colorful, diagrammation, I guess you could say, very interesting. And so I was filled with all those reference, and I still work with it. Like, I still want to put all the color, like more is more and everything. So
Absolutely. And when it came time to go to school, to university, you actually set out on quite a different path. What was that, and how did you make your way back to art?
I did. Like, when you are from a country, like an undeveloped country, you could say, we do have this trouble to disappoint our families when they do like everything they can to put you on a school, because you have to pay. When I was a child, you have to pay for school, for everything. So my parents were struggling and doing the best that they could. So I didn't want to disappoint and make my way to engineering. So I don't know how to spell that word, but yeah.
Yeah, engineering, right?
So
Yeah.
it was like I was crying all the classes and I didn't just understood what I was doing there. And I decided to change to design because it was in my mind something in the middle with arts, even if it's not really. But I thought I could like have a salary or a job being a designer more than
Yeah,
an artist in Chile. So that's why I entered to that path.
absolutely. That's amazing. And you actually were telling me about how you put yourself through school with your art and design school skills.
Sorry, can you please?
Yeah. So you were telling me when we spoke earlier about how to put yourself through art school, you actually went out and got your own clients as a
Yes.
designer to be able to afford to go to school.
It is like, it's something like that, like materials or everything. I didn't want to bother my parents because they were already paying for a career that probably wasn't the first choice of them. So for buying my computer, my camera, and some of kind of my materials, I did a lot of freelance work with whatever I find, making logos for friends and family. Then just ask, do you need something of design, or do you need a draw or whatever? So I basically learned, you could say, in the hard way in the beginning, but then now I appreciate it so much because I had all this experience gained through all that time that I learned from the clients, actually. So
Absolutely. I mean, that skill set is often the one that a lot of artists don't have and don't know how to build. Do you have any advice for other people who are looking to support themselves via art and design on
yeah,
that hustle and how to support themselves doing what they love, like you've been able to do?
I would say it's never easy. I would
Yeah.
say it's always like you want to like earn money and go for the path of work for a company or something, but you have to always find, I guess, that minute weekend, or just wake up earlier in each morning to do
Mm,
what you like and try to be complementary, like work and do what you want, and then gradually just do what you really like. But I would say it's never easy. But I mean, we are all artists, I think, have this love and passion that can make us do it, I guess.
yeah, of course. So back to your art, is there anything that you hope that your art evokes for viewers and clients? Like, are there certain themes or emotions that you tend to circle around?
Um, I think most importantly, I put myself on the internet and on Instagram and everywhere And I just want connection, even if it sounds weird because people say like you can't have connection via social media or everything. But when you're a shy person or an anxious person like me, and you can put your work to be your face, because I never actually show my face, it's a way for me to connect, to feel like I'm a part that is giving something to society. So I think, yeah, just connection and yeah, to have something in common with people, memories or nostalgia or
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, the work both, it makes me smile, it makes me laugh. I think there's such a great sense of humor and whimsy. But yeah, also that nostalgia you're able to bring through while using really contemporary palettes is
Yeah,
really magical.
thanks. I'm so glad that people is like reaching me out and answering and like sharing my work. I can't believe it. Like when I was a child, my dream was just to make maybe a label for something important. I was never expecting like this success, never, ever. Like when I still get like almost a panic attack each time the New York Times posts something of my work. So I'm not coming to that place that I already like embrace it, but I'm so happy. Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of big and important labels, you just released the album art for Tegan and Sarah.
Oh yeah, but it's not the album. It's just a poster tour.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
but I mean, it's huge for me, and
Yes.
I was impressed of how some clients, like especially musicians, are willing to take a lot of risks and
Mm,
are always looking for like something different. It's amazing to work with them, actually. So
yeah. How did that come about? Did they just reach out to you directly, or was it through?
usually musicians talk to you like in Instagram or something, but then the manager just do the rest of the job and they do the approval and of stuff because they are too busy doing their own stuff. So
Yeah, absolutely, sure. And so on that, are there projects, either specific or general types, that you've loved the most, and what makes them special?
I would say all the projects related to music or other kind of art. I did a poster of a short film a time ago, and also these album covers for like indie new music groups or bands. I love to do them. I actually pick my big clients and do the work, and then when I have like this small musician that I think it's super cool, I usually don't like charge him with or her with a lot because I know how it is to be an artist, and also I just want to be part, you know,
Yeah,
in a way. Yeah.
that's awesome. And so what kind of work would you like to do more of or explore in the future?
I still can embrace the present. So this prize and everything that it means, I would love to be able to live of drawing and sharing with people as long as I can. I think that is my biggest wish, to just be able to live of art, pay the rent, travel, being like here, for example,
Yeah.
and meet great people. I guess I'm so
Mhm.
excited for the meeting with all the others young guns. So
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna put it out in the universe. I think when we talked last, you also mentioned that you're really interested in maybe like a movie poster, uh,
yeah,
movie
I am.
art. So we're just gonna put that out and manifest it in the universe.
That and sparkles and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, we are getting close to our time, and I just want to take a quick moment to say that if you love Maria's work as much as I do, you can follow her on Instagram or even go buy some prints and other merch. I've dropped links to both on the episode page
Thank
below,
you.
of course. Maria, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm such a huge, huge fan, and I couldn't be more excited for your success. And I can't wait to celebrate with you at the
Yeah,
Young Gun celebration on the 16th.
yeah, and meet in person and everything. So thank you very
Yes.
much, Anna, for this opportunity. It means a lot to me.
Thank you for being here. Have a great night, and I'll see you soon.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye. If you'd like to check out the other 30 Young Guns this year, I've dropped a link to that list as well. It's just below here on the episode page. When you visit that link, you can even vote for your favorite, maybe Maria, to win the Creative Choice Award. I'm not playing favorites though. Vote for who you like most. I've also dropped a link to the Young Guns 20 ceremony and party event page if you would like to join us and celebrate with them in person on November 16th. Well, I told you this would be a good one. Was I right or did I undersell it? We have another episode in about 2 weeks, well, in exactly 2 weeks. On November 17th at 10 a.m. Eastern, we'll have a group of creatives from Finland who will give you the 411 on greenwashing for dummies. I can't wait to see you then. Thanks again for tuning in and have a great day.
It's the same way, but the same way, but it never. It never happens the same way, but the same way, but it never. It never happens the same way, but